The best way to learn English. Elara often dreamed of speaking English fluently, imagining herself conversing effortlessly with people from around the globe. Her biggest hurdle, however, wasn't grammar rules or vocabulary lists, but the sheer terror of actually opening her mouth. She knew the importance of communication, yet her tongue felt tied, and her confidence was at rock bottom. She desperately sought a breakthrough. One evening, while scrolling through educational videos, a profound insight struck her. "The best way to learn English," the title proclaimed. "Let me tell you talking tips." It resonated deeply. She realized that active speaking, not just passive absorption, was the missing piece in her complex learning puzzle. This simple truth offered a glimmer of hope. The video emphasized talking, not just understanding. "You must speak," the virtual instructor insisted, "even if you make mistakes." Elara understood that perfection was not the goal. Communication was. This foundational principle shifted her entire perspective, transforming a daunting task into an exciting challenge. She felt a spark ignite within her heart. She began incorporating talking tips into her daily routine, starting small. Her initial attempts were hesitant, mumbled phrases whispered to herself in her room. But she persevered, reminding herself that every spoken word, no matter how awkward, was a step forward on her path to fluency. The journey had truly begun. Next, the instructor highlighted the power of listen and practice. Elara started actively listening to podcasts, English news, and interviews not just for comprehension, but for intonation, rhythm, and natural speech patterns. She'd pause, repeat sentences, mimicking the speaker's pronunciation and flow precisely. This active engagement sharpened her ear significantly. She understood that listening wasn't passive background noise. It was an active training exercise. Practicing what she heard became crucial. She'd echo dialogues from movies, trying to match the emotion and speed. This constant imitation slowly but surely rewired her brain, making English sounds more familiar and easier to produce herself. To bring structure to her efforts, Elara crafted an English study plan for talking. It wasn't about rigid grammar drills, but practical speaking scenarios. Her plan included daily speaking prompts, role-playing conversations with imaginary friends, and recording her own voice. This structured approach brought discipline and measurable progress to her learning. Her study plan allocated specific times for various speaking exercises. Mornings were for self-talk and pronunciation drills, afternoons for listening comprehension, and evenings for practicing dialogues. This consistent routine ensured that she was constantly immersed in the language, creating a focused environment for rapid improvement and confidence building. A particularly insightful tip was how to talk at home to yourself. Elara initially felt foolish, conversing with her reflection in the mirror. Yet, she soon realized this was a judgment-free zone, a safe space to experiment with new vocabulary and sentence structures without the fear of embarrassment. It was liberating, truly. She started narrating her daily activities aloud. "I am making coffee. I am choosing an outfit. The cat is sleeping peacefully." This seemingly simple practice built an internal monologue in English, solidifying her grasp of everyday expressions. Her thoughts slowly but surely began to form in English, a monumental shift. The question why reading is important was also addressed. Elara had previously viewed reading as a separate, less active part of learning. However, she discovered that reading expanded her vocabulary exponentially, and provided exposure to diverse sentence structures and authentic language usage. It enriched her speaking immensely. She began reading English novels, articles, and even blog posts on topics she enjoyed. Each new word encountered in context solidified its meaning far more effectively than rote memorization. Reading allowed her to absorb language patterns naturally, improving her grammatical intuition and preparing her for more complex conversations. As her confidence grew through self-practice and reading, the next big challenge emerged: how to talk to anyone in English. The thought of engaging with native speakers still triggered a flutter of anxiety in her stomach. Yet, she knew this step was absolutely crucial for authentic communication development. Elara decided to start small, perhaps with online language exchange partners. She sought out communities where learners and native speakers connected, bravely initiating conversations. Her first few interactions were clumsy, filled with pauses and hesitations, but each one was a valuable learning experience, building her resilience incrementally. She learned to embrace mistakes as part of the process, rather than obstacles. Every awkward sentence, every misunderstood phrase, provided feedback for improvement. This mindset shift was transformative, allowing her to view conversations not as tests, but as opportunities for growth and genuine connection. She felt progress accelerating. How to improve your fluency became her daily mantra. She observed that fluency wasn't about speaking fast, but speaking smoothly and naturally. She focused on connecting words, reducing pauses, and using common filler phrases like "you know" or "I mean" to sound more natural and less robotic. To enhance fluency, she recorded herself speaking and then listened back, identifying areas for improvement. She noticed where she hesitated, where her pronunciation faltered, and where she could connect ideas more smoothly. This self-assessment became an invaluable tool in refining her spoken English consistently. Another key insight was understanding how other people talk in English. She began paying close attention to the nuances of conversations among native speakers. She observed their body language, their intonation, and how they used idiomatic expressions and slang organically in different contexts. This observation was crucial. She noticed that casual English often differs significantly from textbook English. People used contractions, dropped sounds, and employed unique phrasing. By observing and then subtly imitating these natural patterns, Elara started sounding less like a student reciting rules and more like a confident, natural speaker. Elara's English study plan for talking evolved. It now included shadowing native speakers from videos, trying to match their rhythm and pitch exactly. This technique, though challenging, rapidly improved her pronunciation and intonation, making her speech much more natural and understandable to others. She dedicated time each day to active listening and repeating. For example, she'd listen to a short news clip, then pause and try to summarize it aloud, using her own words, but incorporating new vocabulary she just heard. This method reinforced both comprehension and active recall, crucial for spontaneous speech. Her approach to how to talk at home to yourself also became more sophisticated. She started debating topics with herself, role-playing different characters in an imaginary scenario. This exercise pushed her to think critically and articulate complex ideas, further honing her conversational skills significantly. She even practiced describing objects around her house, forcing herself to use varied vocabulary and detailed descriptions. The wooden table, scarred by years of use, holds a vibrant green plant, she'd narrate. This constant descriptive practice enhanced her vocabulary recall and descriptive abilities dramatically. Realizing why reading is important was a game-changer for her vocabulary. She started keeping a dedicated notebook for new words and phrases she encountered while reading. She wouldn't just write definitions. She'd write example sentences demonstrating the words in context. This active approach guaranteed better retention. She also diversified her reading materials, moving beyond just simple stories. She tackled nonfiction articles, technical reports, and even some poetry to expose herself to different registers and styles of English. This breadth of reading contributed greatly to her linguistic versatility and nuance. The fear of how to talk to anyone in English gradually dissipated. She joined an online book club where members discussed books in English. This provided a low-pressure environment to engage in longer, more sustained conversations about specific topics, building her confidence for real-world interactions. She also started visiting local English-speaking meetups, even if it was just to listen initially. Gradually, she'd contribute a sentence or two, then a paragraph, until she felt comfortable participating fully. The courage she displayed in stepping out of her comfort zone truly propelled her forward. To genuinely improve your fluency, Elara focused on reducing her reliance on translation. She trained her brain to think directly in English even for complex ideas. This meant actively suppressing the urge to translate from her native language, forcing direct English thought processes. She started using English for her daily journaling, documenting her thoughts and experiences directly in the language. This daily writing practice solidified her internal English voice and helped her articulate ideas more smoothly when speaking, bridging the gap between thought and expression effectively. Observing how other people talk in English became a fascinating study. She noticed how native speakers use different tones for sarcasm, excitement, or doubt. She began experimenting with these tonal variations in her own speech, adding layers of meaning and emotion to her words naturally. She also paid attention to the speed and rhythm of conversations. Some people spoke fast, others slower, but all had a natural flow. She tried to find her own comfortable pace, one that allowed her to express herself clearly without rushing or sounding overly hesitant or unnatural. Her English study plan for talking now included creating mental scripts for common situations, ordering food, asking for directions, introducing herself. While not memorized verbatim, these frameworks gave her a foundation, reducing panic and allowing for more spontaneous, confident responses. She also incorporated storytelling into her practice, narrating short anecdotes or recounting her day's events. This helped her connect ideas, use transition words, and maintain a coherent narrative, all essential skills for extended conversation and effective communication in real life. The constant cycle of listen and practice began yielding remarkable results. She could now follow complex conversations with ease and respond without significant delays. Her ear had become finely tuned to different accents and speech speeds, making comprehension almost effortless. She actively sought out diverse listening materials, documentaries, stand-up comedy, scientific talks. This wide exposure ensured she was familiar with various registers, from formal academic English to informal conversational slang, broadening her linguistic toolkit significantly for any situation. How to talk at home to yourself evolved into a powerful self-coaching tool. Elara would record her practice sessions, then listen back critically, identifying pronunciation errors, grammatical slips, or awkward phrasing. This self-correction loop was incredibly effective for refining her speech. She even simulated job interviews or presentations in front of her mirror, practicing her answers and delivery. This preparation reduced her anxiety for real-life high-stakes situations, allowing her to perform more confidently and articulate her thoughts clearly and concisely. Reaffirming why reading is important, Elara discovered the joy of reading English literature. Classic novels and contemporary fiction not only expanded her vocabulary, but also provided deep cultural insights, making her more aware of the nuances behind idioms and expressions. She also used reading to learn about specific topics, effectively combining her hobbies with language learning. Reading about gardening or cooking in English introduced specialized vocabulary in an engaging, relevant way, making the learning process feel less like work and more like exploration. The breakthrough in how to talk to anyone in English came when she stopped focusing on perfection and started focusing on connection. Her goal shifted from speaking flawlessly to genuinely understanding and being understood, which paradoxically made her more fluent and relaxed. She learned to ask clarifying questions when she didn't understand something, rather than nodding politely. This active engagement showed respect and facilitated genuine communication, building stronger relationships and accelerating her comprehension skills remarkably. This was a vital conversational skill. How to improve your fluency now involved strategic pauses and effective use of discourse markers. She learned to use phrases like well, so, anyway, to transition smoothly between thoughts, making her speech sound more coherent and native-like, even when she needed a moment to think. She practiced paraphrasing and summarizing, ensuring she could express the same idea in multiple ways. This flexibility meant she wouldn't get stuck searching for one perfect word, allowing her to maintain conversational flow, even when her exact vocabulary failed her temporarily. Observing how other people talk in English extended to analyzing different registers: formal versus informal, polite versus direct. She learned to adjust her speech based on the context and her interlocutor, a crucial aspect of true communicative competence and social awareness. She studied common conversational patterns, like initiating small talk, expressing opinions, agreeing or disagreeing politely, and ending conversations gracefully. Mastering these social interactions made her feel far more comfortable and capable in diverse English-speaking environments. Her English study plan for talking was now a dynamic, evolving strategy. She regularly reviewed her progress, identified new challenges, and adjusted her practice methods. This adaptability ensured her learning never stagnated and always remained engaging and effective for her. She started teaching simple English phrases to her friends, a surprisingly effective way to solidify her own knowledge. Explaining concepts to others forced her to articulate clearly, identify gaps in her understanding, and reinforce her vocabulary and grammar foundations. The continuous cycle of listen and practice had transformed her auditory comprehension. She could now effortlessly follow rapid-fire conversations, grasp subtle jokes, and understand regional accents that once seemed impenetrable. Her listening skills were truly exceptional. She even began listening to English podcasts about specific niche hobbies, like true crime or historical events. This diversified her exposure to highly specialized vocabulary and complex narrative structures, further honing her ability to process dense information in English. How to talk at home to yourself became her daily warm-up before any English interaction. She would mentally rehearse challenging phrases or visualize successful conversations, preparing her mind and voice for confident engagement outside her private practice space. She embraced making mistakes during these self-talk sessions, viewing them as crucial diagnostic tools. Each error was an opportunity to correct herself and refine her internal English grammar checker, leading to faster self-correction in real-time conversations later. Why reading is important revealed its ultimate value: cultural immersion. Through literature and news articles, Elara gained a deeper understanding of English-speaking cultures, their histories, values, and humor, which profoundly enhanced her conversational depth and connection. She discovered that reading provided a bridge to understanding cultural references and idiomatic expressions that are often opaque to non-native speakers. This rich context made her conversations more nuanced and allowed her to participate more fully in cultural exchanges. Finally, how to talk to anyone in English became a joy, not a chore. Elara realized that authentic connection was the real reward. She found herself effortlessly engaging with people from all walks of life, sharing stories and learning from diverse perspectives, all thanks to English. Elara's journey from a hesitant beginner to a confident, fluent English speaker was a testament to consistent effort and strategic practice. Her story proved that the best way to learn English truly involves embracing talking, listening, reading, and courageous self-practice relentlessly.